The woman who destroyed my life looked directly into my eyes and didn't recognize me. She was sitting in her luxury kitchen, wearing diamonds that once belonged to my mother, while yelling at the servants because her coffee wasn't hot enough anymore. And there I was, standing silently in a maid's uniform, with trembling hands. "You're the new maid?" she snapped angrily. "Try not to touch anything expensive." I lowered my head respectfully. "Yes, ma'am." But inside, I was remembering the exact night she framed me, turned my own father against me, and threw me out of the house with nothing. And now, after 10 years of pain, struggle, and silence, I was finally back. And nobody in that mansion had any idea that the new maid standing before them was secretly planning revenge. My name is Elena. Before my life fell apart, I had a happy family. My father owned a successful hotel business in Chicago, and my mother was the kindest woman I had ever known. Our house was filled with laughter, warmth, and love. But when I was 12 years old, my mother died from cancer. And after that, everything changed. My father became emotionally distant and buried himself in work. That's when Vanessa entered our lives. She was younger than my father, elegant, beautiful, and incredibly manipulative. At first, she acted kind toward me. She bought me clothes, cooked my favorite meals, and pretended to care about me. But after marrying my father, her real personality slowly appeared. She removed every photo of my mother from the house, moved me into the basement room, and then the lies started. She's disrespectful. She steals. She causes problems. Little by little, my father stopped trusting me. I still remember the first time he slapped me because of Vanessa's lies. I cried all night, not because of the pain, but because he believed her instead of me. That was the moment I realized I was completely alone. But when I was 12 years old, my mother died from cancer. Even after everything, I still loved my father deeply. When his business started struggling financially, I worked after school at a grocery store just to help with bills. Meanwhile, Vanessa spent money endlessly on luxury bags, jewelry, and expensive vacations. Still, I stayed quiet. One winter night, my father collapsed from stress and ended up in the hospital. The medical bills were enormous. So I secretly sold my mother's necklace, the last thing I had from her, to help pay for his treatment. Nobody knew. And honestly, I didn't care about getting credit for it. I just wanted my father to survive. But do you know what Vanessa said to me that same week? If your mother could see you now, she'd be ashamed of you. That sentence shattered something inside, but I stayed silent because a part of me still hoped my father would eventually see the truth. Instead, things only became worse. On my 19th birthday, Vanessa accused me of stealing $5,000 from her jewelry box. I was shocked. I begged my father to believe me. But Vanessa cried dramatically and called the police anyway. The officer searched my room, and suddenly, the missing money appeared under my bed. I froze instantly. I knew Vanessa had planted it there. I looked at her, and she smiled. A tiny smile nobody else noticed. That was the moment I realized she had planned everything from the beginning. My father looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. Honestly, that hurt more than the police investigation itself. That same night, he told me to leave the house. No money, no support, nothing. I walked into the freezing rain carrying one bag and a broken heart while Vanessa watched from the doorway with satisfaction on her face. For years, I disappeared completely from their lives. Life became brutal. I worked terrible jobs, cleaned dirty restaurants, lived in tiny apartments. Some nights, I cried from exhaustion. But pain changes people. Eventually, I stopped crying and started learning. One night while working at a restaurant, I overheard two businessmen talking about my father's company. Fraud investigations. Missing money. Secret bank transfers. And one name kept appearing again and again. Vanessa. Something felt wrong. So I started researching quietly. Reading financial records. Studying business documents. Searching public reports online. And slowly, I uncovered the horrifying truth. Vanessa had been secretly stealing millions from my father for years while manipulating him emotionally. And the theft accusation against me? It had all been fake. My entire life had been destroyed because of her lies. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going back for forgiveness. I was going back for revenge. Revenge. Before I tell you what happened next, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Because trust me, things are about to get crazy. 3 years later, I returned to my father's mansion. Not as Elena, as a maid. Getting hired wasn't difficult because rich people rarely notice workers. Especially Vanessa. She looked at me once and immediately ignored me. Perfect. For weeks, I quietly observed everything. Her routines, her secret phone calls, her office passwords. Then one night, I overheard Vanessa arguing with a lawyer. She can never find the second will, Vanessa whispered angrily. My heart nearly stopped. Second will? Later that night, while everyone slept, I sneaked into her office and searched through locked drawers and hidden folders. And finally, I found it. The real will. Everything was supposed to belong to me. Everything. But Vanessa had hidden it for years. And suddenly, I realized just how evil she truly was. A few days later, something unexpected happened. I was cleaning upstairs when my father suddenly stared at me carefully. For a moment, I thought he recognized me. Then, quietly, he whispered, "Elena?" My chest tightened instantly. Tears filled his eyes. Vanessa had told him for years that I abandoned him willingly and hated him. But now, he looked completely broken. "I'm sorry," he whispered weakly. And honestly, that moment hurt more than all the years of suffering combined. Because for the first time, I realized my father had also been manipulated. But I stayed calm. No screaming. No emotional breakdown. Because my revenge was no longer based on anger. It was based on patience. Over the next month, I gathered evidence quietly. Hidden bank transfers, fake signatures, secret recordings, everything. Then came the perfect opportunity. My father's annual charity gala, the biggest event of the year. Business partners, lawyers, media reporters, everyone important would be there. Vanessa planned to officially take control of the company that same night. But what she didn't know was that I had already sent copies of every document anonymously to the company board members. The trap was ready. The night of the gala finally arrived. Vanessa stood proudly beside my father, smiling confidently while guests applauded. Then, the lawyer stepped onto the stage to announce the ownership transfer. That's when I walked forward. The entire ballroom went silent. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed calm. My father signed another will. Vanessa's smile disappeared instantly. I placed the real documents on the table. Then, the recording started playing through the speakers. Her own voice echoed across the ballroom. She was stupid enough to trust us. Gasps filled the room. People stared at Vanessa in horror. My father looked shattered. Security escorted Vanessa out while cameras flashed everywhere. And as she passed me, she finally recognized who I really was. "Elena?" I looked directly into her terrified eyes and smiled softly. The exact same smile she gave me years ago when she destroyed my life. Except this time, I won. A few months later, Vanessa lost everything. My father apologized to me every single day. Some wounds never fully heal. But for the first time in years, I finally felt free. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't hatred. It's silently rebuilding yourself, while the people who hurt you lose everything they once stole from you. And remember, a lie can destroy a family, but the truth always finds its way back. Parents should always trust and listen to their children before believing someone else's words.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Binte, and here you will enjoy emotional stories, revenge stories, and amazing content. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our family.